Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. I have lost my voice, so I'm going to push through this, and it's not going to be long. I just got back home, literally was on the road for almost 10 hours, thanks to those idiots who were bouncing off each other in New York. Long drive from DC back home, but excellent event put on by Guns Out TV and XCal. If you haven't checked out XCal, go check it out if you're in that area. In Ashburn, Virginia. Also, hello again to everybody who I had the opportunity to meet. It was awesome to see and meet each and every one of you and to spend some time with you guys. It was awesome. I was going to put this out yesterday, but to be honest, got hanging around with the guys and had a little too much fun, which is why I don't have a voice right now. So, back on the 14th, a letter was transmitted from 100 members of the House, 100 Republicans of the House. The letter was pinned by Representative Elise Stefanik out of New York. I'm going to show you the letter, and I'll have it pinned down below in the description if you want to read it. There are some questions that are posed to these groups, American Express, Visa, and MasterCard, and this is in a direct response to the ISO creating the new tracking code so that, in theory, according to the gun control groups and the politicians who pushed for this, along with the woke bank of the world, to track sales in firearms and to flag potentially concerning purchases. And I've done a couple of videos on that, so I'm going to just pin them above. I'm not going to rehash the entire thing. But here's the letter on the screen. It says, this is to Mr. Kelly. This is to Alfred Kelly, who's the CEO of Visa. And it says, Mr. Kelly, we write to you today with grave concern regarding your implementation of a new firearms-specific merchant category code. This implementation follows an equally concerning decision by the International Organization for Standards to create this MCC, which is an assault on the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding American citizens. As you know, the ISO uses 4-digit codes known as MCCs to classify merchants and businesses by the type of goods or services provided. There were already 2 MCCs that captured legal firearm sales, 599 for miscellaneous retail stores and 5941 for sporting goods stores. In July of 21, Amalgamated Bank, that's the woke bank I mentioned earlier, applied for this firearm-specific MCC, but the ISO's internal registration and maintenance management group denied the initial application, as well as its follow-up appeal in October and November of 2021, respectively. Following these denials, the ISO stated a new code would fail to capture sales at sporting goods stores and would unduly burden smaller firearms retailers. It's been widely reported that American Express, MasterCard, and Visa did not support this application. Specifically, Visa recently stated that they believe that asking payment networks to serve as moral authority by deciding which legal goods can or cannot be purchased sets a dangerous precedent. We could not agree more. Amalgamated Bank again applied for a creation of the new MCC in June of 2022. The ISO recently announced its unfortunate decision to create a new firearm-specific code in apparent submission to the desires of liberal activists and politicians who seek to erode the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding American citizens. Amalgamated Bank stated its intent to utilize software to flag allegedly suspicious purchases made by Americans exercising their Second Amendment rights and file these red flags with law enforcement. This sentiment mirrors public sentiments from a myriad of liberal politicians who see this action as a first step towards further infringing on law-abiding United States citizens utilizing their constitutional right to bear arms. Especially concerning was New York Attorney General Letitia James' statement that credit card companies must now take the next step and flag suspicious transactions on gun and ammunition sales. Of course, there is no accepted, consistent, scientific, or legitimate way to determine from this data what is and what is not a suspicious purchase. A gun control advocate could view any desire to own or obtain a firearm as per se suspicious. Instead, this is a transparent attempt to chill the exercise of constitutionally protected rights and to circumvent exercising legal restrictions on the creation of firearm registries by the government. As you have now announced your intent to implement this new code, we request that you provide answers to the following questions. And this is where it gets wonderful. 1. Does Visa support the recent decision by the ISO to create a unique MCC for firearm retailers? If so, what was the reason for changing your view, as it was widely reported you opposed Amalgamated Bank's twice denied initial application in 2021? 2, what criteria will Visa utilize to flag transactions? How were these criteria devised, and what evidence, if any, is there that they will effectively focus on criminal intent and not on purchases, including high dollar or high volume purchases made for entirely lawful and legitimate reasons? Will Visa, sorry, my voice is dying here. Will Visa publish for the public and their card users the criteria used to flag so-called suspicious activity? 3, how will Visa inform customers on the impacts of this implementation? Does Visa plan to notify and solicit feedback from consumers during this process? 4, will Visa notify customers when their lawful transactions have been flagged and send to law enforcement? If not, why does Visa not believe this notification is important to the consumer? 5, has your company considered the reputational risks and the possible implications for your fiduciary duties to shareholders of potentially angering or alienating a large percentage of Americans, more than 100 million gun owners, or the millions more who wish to purchase or own firearms without being subject to intrusive surveillance or registration? 6, are you aware that federal law contains multiple restrictions on the creation of a national firearms registry, and that this move by your company could be perceived as a bad faith attempt to circumvent those restrictions? And 7, did you solicit any input from experts from the firearms industry or any Second Amendment advocacy group before making this decision to help determine its impact on lawful commercial activity and the exercise of constitutional rights? And finally, number 8, are you aware of data compiled by the United States Department of Justice showing that only a very small percentage of criminals who illegally use firearms obtain those firearms directly from the source of federally licensed dealers who will be subject to this new MCC? Did you consider this data or do other independent due diligence before moving forward with this effort? We look forward to your timely response to this important matter. Now, what will be interesting is to see how these groups, Visa here, respond, because there was a group of 28 senators who put pressure on Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. That video is floating above. And they bent, and they cowered to 28 senators. Well, here's 100 members of the House. So let's see what happens there. By a numbers game, you would think this might have the desired effect. And I'll tell you, I mentioned this when I spoke at the meeting 2 nights ago at the VCDL, the Virginia Citizens Defense League meeting at XCal in Ashburn, Virginia. This is a direct response of the pressure put on by us, the people, the community. After this announcement came out, and I did the video, everybody was doing videos on it, right? Everybody in the community. And it was good because the more people who knew, the more people squawked. And that very first day, Visa lost 3.4% of their value in the stock market. So their value, their shares went down, and Visa immediately responded. And I did a video about what they responded on. They were trying to say, like, this isn't necessary, and this is, this is dangerous, but they still bent the knee. So my throat is on fire and my back is jacked up from sitting in the car for so long. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Hope you're having a fantastic day to each and every one of you. For everybody I got to see down in XCal, it was awesome. Until we see each other again, be safe, stay vigilant, carry a gun to keep you, your friends, your family, your community safe. Hit that subscribe button down below, because Visa, MasterCard, and American Express don't want you to do that. Take care, y'all.